really excited to be here. This is a very full 3 hours, so we are going to cover a lot of material in a very short frame of time. So try not to worry too much about absorbing all of it. It's one of the reasons that we sent out the materials early on, and so that you guys can have that at your ready disposal. So you sit back and enjoy, if that's possible. I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. One thing we do want to start off with is that we are pleased to let you know that the final ICH GCP E-6 R2 was released last week. It was a little bit later than we expected. They had said by November 30th, and they didn't quite make that, but they have now released it. Barnett's in the process of reviewing the final version and any changes to this course. So please do know that this particular webinar is based on the proposed revision and not the final version. Barnett's evaluating all of those things right now, but this will be a great overview of what has come. And it may have some different nuances in some ways, but it's probably fairly close. Just so you know, a little bit about me. I've been in industry now almost 21 years. I started off in clinical operations and then moved into quality assurance. I've done quality assurance at pharma companies, CROs, and IRBs. So I've been around a little bit. And, ICH GCP is actually how I got hired as an auditor. I was asked what my favorite citations were. Did I prefer to cite a particular set of regulations? And I said, well, I love ICH because it's the most detailed. And the person hired me on the spot. So that's how my career in quality began. So I have a particular affinity to the ICH E6 GCP requirements and principles, and I think they're great. And I like that it has a very inclusive nature. So with that said, this revision is very prescriptive in nature. Today, we're going to talk about some new concepts presented in this revision. We're going to do a high-level overview of the revision with some explanations. And this is really going to be a starting point for any gap analyses that you're going to do in your organization to determine whether or not you need to make changes to your policies and procedures and day-to-day practices. All right, so what are we going to be doing today? We're going to go over our learning objectives. I'm going to do a quick check-in with you so I can understand a little bit more about who we've got on the line. We're going to talk about who influenced this revision. It's quite a group that actually drove the changes to ICH E6 GCP. We're going to do a targeted review of the guidelines and the proposed revisions. So we've got some slide text in some boxes to help you see the difference between like where we are and where we're going, and to help you highlight the areas of revision. Again, this is really detailed, and there's no way in this 3-hour session we can cover every possible scenario, but we will give you a great overview and a good bit of information to kind of go forth and see what this means for your organization. We'll talk about your next steps at a high level, about how you might create a project plan for implementing changes in your organizations. We'll summarize everything that we've learned, and we'll do one final review of the learning objectives. The other thing that you will see in the slides that you received are some bonus slides. We're not going to cover those here today because it's, again, so much information, but those are there for you to have so that you can use them and have them as a resource. So we wanted to provide you with as many resources as we can for this topic. So our learning objectives, when we're done today, we should be able to identify 2 reasons, the influencing factors for the proposed revision. So why did we revise it in the first place? We being the people that revised it, not me personally. We're going to identify 3 changes impacting investigator and sponsor responsibilities when compared to the current ICH GCP E6. And we're going to list 3 gap analysis or areas and topics that the proposed approaches for promoting compliance with the proposed revision. So how do we meet the expectations in this revision? We're going to talk about that. Now, quickly, I just want to get to know you a little bit. So what I would like is for whoever is either calling in or in the room, if you would, in the chat box, pick one of these things or all of these things. Which areas do you work in? Are you in ClinOps? Are you in compliance, quality, safety and PVG, reg affairs? Where do you sit in your organization? So I'll give you all just a second to kind of type that in. I'm seeing lots of answers come through. Thanks, someone. Did I just take over biostats and everything else? I love it. Yeah, some days we are a little bit of everything, right? So it looks like we have a little bit of everyone on the phone, from clinical operations to various parts of the organization to regulatory authorities. So we have a large group, and I'm very excited to see folks from biostats here. That's fantastic. So, and data management as well. So excellent. Really glad that you guys are joining us. I'll try to give examples and things like that that are at least hopefully partially interesting to everybody. We'll see. I've got lots of stories, so we'll see how that goes. So just another quick check-in. Give me a green check if you've reviewed ICH E6 GCP, the R2 proposed revisions, or an X if you have not had the opportunity yet to review them. So it looks like we've got a mix. Some folks who've read them and some folks who haven't been able to do that at this point. And that's no problem at all. It's a lot to read, right? And that's hopefully part of the reason that you guys are here as well. So I'm going to erase those marks. And I'm going to ask this, do you have experience with risk-based approaches to clinical trials? So risk management, risk-based monitoring, anything that starts with a risk in front of it, or do you not have experience in this yet? So give me a green check if you're experienced and a red X if you're not yet experienced in this area. So it looks like most of us have some exposure and experience with a risk-based approach. And that's not surprising. It's been the buzzword within industry for quite a while now. So that's good to see. All right, so why are we here? Right? Why are we doing this? Well, clinical trials have evolved considerably since this guideline was originally written in both scale, complexity, absolutely everything since this first came out. So again, like we said, the final publication was due in November, but they have just gotten it out. So it's a little bit later than expected, but not by much. So it is now published, and Barnett, like I said, is working on that.